Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Yes. Welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel St Patrick Hewitt. And to be fair with this particular episode, I've been umming and ahhing. I've been umming and ahhing for a while about, are we going to do any content around CPL? I'd pretty much decided that, and Santoki as well, we decided that what's the point? That was the initial kind of viewpoint. What is the point in doing content on CPL? And to be fair, as a media, I don't want to say company because we're not a company, but as a media venture, we need to respect ourselves more. And by that I mean we should be paid for what we impart. Like, we believe in ourselves. So hear me out, people. We believe in the quality of what we do. We believe that nobody covers cricket across the region better than we do. And after a while, when you're working independently, you gotta get paid for your services, and you gotta be mindful of what you plug, who you plug, for no remittance, so to speak. So we kind of discussed and said, nah, man, like, we need to stop doing all of this freeness for people, and make sure we get paid for doing the work for people, if you see what I mean. But at the same time, we also have to be honest with ourselves, and CPL is our only Caribbean-based T20 tournament until the domestic one comes into play next year, if that ever does come to fruition. This is all we've got. This is the only T20 tournament that we've got. This is the only thing we can use to assess and judge the next batch of players or the current batch of players, and so on and so forth. And like it or loathe it, CPL is popular, certainly in Trinidad and Tobago and certainly in Guyana. I'm sure the Barbadians will say it's popular there as well. I think the popularity decreases once you come out of Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago, but certainly those two in Barbados could say, yeah, we pack out the stadium and it's amped and so on and so forth. The fact that the Tallawahs don't even want to be in the competition anymore, and Jamaica doesn't want to have a franchise anymore, rightly for me, raises question marks about the long-term viability of CPL and long-term profitability of CPL. If the biggest nation in the region, and I'm not saying this just because I've got my Jamaica flag behind me and I'm a Jamaican, but if the biggest nation in the region wants nothing to do with the only T20 tournament, like cross into Caribbean tournament, what does that say about the tournament? But all of that notwithstanding, we're still going to do some bits and pieces on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, but the emphasis is only on bits and pieces. And what that essentially will look like over the next month and a bit, for how long this tournament goes on for, is every few days or so, I will check in. And I will make a few comments, and then I'll bounce. So these videos won't be like 25 minutes, famous last words. They won't be 25 minutes, 30-minute videos. They'll just be looking ahead at the games. Maybe if it's after 5 games have been played, looking back at the games. But most of these videos will just be about picking out 5 key things that we have learned about a game or we need to talk about, and so on and so forth. So without any further ado, this is being recorded about 3 hours before the first game of the Caribbean Premier League. So this video is deliberately being dropped to amp people up who care. I won't even watch the game. Sorry, that's a lie. I'll watch the highlights tomorrow, but if you're expecting me to stay up till midnight to watch this game for 3.5 hours, no, it's not happening. the best CPL can get out of me this year is that I stay up till midnight, watch half an hour, then go to bed. That's the best you're gonna get out of me this year. I'll watch the ones that start at 3 o'clock. Or is it, sorry, that's the start. I don't know what time it is. There's some earlier games on the weekend. I'll watch those ones, but the days of me staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning to watch a CPL game, them days are long gone. But anyways, so tonight's game is Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. For those of you who have been paying attention, that basically is Jamaica Tallawahs. So the owner of Jamaica Tallawahs, Chris Prasad, Prasad, or however you want to say his surname, has basically taken the team to Antigua, and he's basically taken the entire Jamaica franchise to Antigua with him. So look at last year's Jamaica team, and it's basically the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. So they will kick off today's tournament. Obviously, it will take place in Antigua. Well done to the Antiguans. They've got a franchise there, so on and so forth. So, sorry, that's the St Kitts Nevis Patriots. So this is the Antigua team. Obviously, there's been some changes. So the main change that you just need to know about is, so the squad is, you can read it for yourselves, but Imad Wasim, Brandon King, Fabian Allen, Omazai is no longer playing. He's been replaced by Sam Billings, Mohamed Amir, Russian Primus, Chris Green, Fakar Zaman, Hayden Walsh Jr., Shamar Springer, Kelvin Pittman, Justin Graves, Jewel Andrew, Joshua James, Teddy Bishop, Kofi James, and Jamar Hamilton. So, like I say, this video is about just picking out 5 things that I think people should kind of look out for, and I don't know if look forward to is the right phrase for tonight's game. And these are the things that I've picked out about the Falcons. The first thing that I think is kind of pertinent to talk about is Brandon King fit? I think King, or I assume that King is the captain of this particular franchise. And King obviously hasn't featured since pulling up injured, side strain in the World Cup. Didn't play in the recent T20 games where we just beat South Africa 3-0. So for me, one of the talking points ahead of this game is Brandon King's availability. Is he ready for this tournament? And if he is, how ready is he for this tournament? And I'm looking at that in the wider West Indian context of, we've got 3 ODIs and 3 T20s against Sri Lanka coming up. We've then got 3 ODIs and 3 T20s against England coming up. And then we've also got some ODIs and T20s in November, December against Bangladesh coming up. So King's fitness is a talking point for me. I could talk about how that also has an implication on any future call-up for Brandon King in Test cricket, but I won't get into it just that. So that's talking point number 1. Talking point number 2 is related to the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons, is the Ute men. Now, big up Antigua and Barbuda, because they're one of the few teams in the tournament where they actually have a real healthy selection of Ute men, which suggests at least 2 of these Ute men might actually play in and of their own right, and not just because they are emerging players. So the Ute men that I'm interested in within this Falcon side, Jewel Andrew, obviously next big thing. Everyone assumes he's the next big thing. Lots of pressure is on his shoulders because everyone thinks he's brilliant. We saw him at the Under-19 World Cup. People were talking about him well before the Under-19 World Cup, cool and smooth when he was making debuts at 16, all of that. I think Jewel Andrew, looking at this team, I'm assuming, is there another wicketkeeper in this team? I don't see another wicketkeeper. So I'm assuming, Jamar Hamilton. So it's not a guarantee that Jewel gets a play straight away, but I'm assuming Jewel will get a play because he can play as a batter. He don't even need to wicket keep. So Jewel Andrew, Kelvin Pittman, Joshua James. I've had stocks in Joshua James for 3 years now, and he's still not, and that's not criticism of Joshua James. I know he's had injuries, but he's still not exploded onto the scene in the way I thought he was going to. But I haven't sold my stocks in Josh yet because I genuinely believe that the Tobagan he can hit a long ball, he can crank it to 90. I think he's just got to get on. I don't think he even knows his own body yet. I don't even think Joshua really fully understands his full capabilities. But if you've never seen Joshua James before, I've still got huge stocks in Joshua James. And then, of course, Teddy Bishop is there. I'm not sure if Teddy Bishop will get a play. And also Kofi James. 2 years ago, I had stocks in Kofi James. I think he's fallen off a bit, maybe 18 months ago. I think he's fallen off a bit. But Kofi is playing for his home franchise. I'd like to believe that this will be the tournament where Kofi James comes back into the kind of public understanding and reckoning. For that to happen, the team needs to invest in him. Let me remind all of these teams this is a Caribbean tournament. I know teams want to win. I know they want the prestige. I know all the owners care about is winning, but all I care about is the development of the West Indian talent. And those are the four I've got my eyes on. So let's see tonight if any of those four even get a play. Jewel Andrew, Kelvin Pittman, Joshua James, Kofi James. If none of those four get a play, Antigua and Barbuda Falcons are already telling me they're not a serious team. Let's move on. So that's I mean, there's obviously other talking points, but I'm not here to talk about your talking points. Come on to Monday's live call-in show if you want to talk about your talking points. These are my talking points. Moving on to the St Kitts Nevis Patriots squad. Here's their squad. Evan Lewis, Shafane Rutherford, Sikandar Raza, Tristan Stubbs, Kyle Mayers, Mikhail Louis, Dominic Drakes. Where's he been for the last year? Hasaranga has been replaced by Tabriz Shamsi, Riley Russo, Josh Da Silva, Vasami Permo, Odin Smith, Andre Fletcher, Ashmead Ned, Nuwan Thusara has been replaced by Anrik Norkier, Johan Lane, and Ryan John. So here's the talking points that I've got for the Patriots, who were horrid last year. In their 10 games last year, Patriots won 1 game. Dreadful, down bad side. They've obviously tried to rectify that this year, and they just look like an overseas man squad. Riley Russo, Tristan Stubbs, Sikandar Raza, Anrik Norkier, Tabriz Shamsi. Those 5 overseas men that they've got, that's an embarrassment of riches. Whether the St Kitts and Nevis Patriots know how to put together a starting 11, though, it's another question altogether, right? So, oh, wait, aren't some of these South Africans missing for the first few games? I don't even... Anyway, I'm sure somebody will put that in the comments for me. Wait, hold on. Let me go back into my emails, because I swear certain man... Let me just double check. If they are, no one's told me. Anyways, or if they are, I must have missed that information. But anyways, here's my talking points. Who opens for this side? Evan Lewis, obviously. But who opens with Evan Lewis? Is it Carl Mayers? Is it Andre Fletcher? And if it is one of those two, does Mikhail Louis get a play in this side? I want to see what Mikhail Louis is all about in this format of cricket. You would think he would suit this format of cricket. He's played cool and smooth, obviously, in Antigua. I would love to see Mikhail Louis get a play, but my first talking point for this side is who opens with Evan Lewis. Speaking of that, Evan Lewis in and of himself is a talking point. Does Evan Lewis still want to represent the West Indies? If he harbours any ambition to still play for the West Indies, this is a critical tournament for Evan Lewis. Talking point number... I know I've kind of covered the overseas one. And then my final talking point. So if people are like, where's your talking points then? Who opens is a talking point. Evan Lewis and how serious is he about representing the West Indies is a talking point. This being a jam-packed overseas team is a talking point. On paper, this St Kitts and Nevis Patriots team shouldn't be as down bad as last year when they only won 1 game. But then they weren't. On paper, they weren't. Well, they were dreadful last year, in fairness. And then my last talking point, here's something. Look at this squad. Read it again, people. Read that squad again and compare it to, let me go back. Look at the Falcons. So the Falcons have youth men, Kelvin Pittman, Jewel Andrew, Joshua James, Teddy Bishop. That's 4 youth men immediately that I see in the Falcons team. Now look at the Patriots. Tell me who the youth men are, please. The only youth men in that team are Ashmead Ned and Johan Lane. I could call Mikhail Louis because technically Mikhail Louis is a youth man, but he's a West Indies international now. So the only youth men are Ashmead Ned and Johan Lane. Now, the rules of CPL say that youth men have to play a minimum of 5 games between them across the 10 stage group, the 10 matches in the group stages. I don't know how Ashmead Ned and Johan Lane are going to get 5 games between them, because that St Kitts and Nevis Patriots squad is so jam-packed with players. I think St Kitts and Nevis, here's what I think is going to happen. I think they're only going to play these two when they have no other choice but to play them, because they have to play them. So this team, for me, is an example of a squad where the development of West Indian talent is not at the forefront of their thinking. So that's the other talking point I've got. Who knows if any of that is true? That's just my gut reactions based on what I see. Have fun, those of you who are looking in for tonight's game between the Falcons and the Patriots. By all means, get in the comments below during the game. If you want to say, Mash, you didn't know what you were talking about. See, look at this. Before the game, after the game, whatever it might be. Like I say, I'll be dropping these videos as and when I feel like. Maybe there won't be another CPL one for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Maybe there'll be another one tomorrow. Who knows? But you'll just see intermittently across the tournament some videos just reflecting on some talking points about CPL. But more importantly, unlike other channels where they'll talk about who's going to win the tournament, neither myself or Santoki really care who wins this tournament. All we care about is, how is this helping West Indies cricket? I'll be Machel St Patriots, one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. You don't know what I'm going to say already. No one can do it like us, will do it like us. We are the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. See you all soon.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rules seem coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.